Well, folks, welcome to an episode of the LFC Footy Talk. I'm your host, Sean, and I have a special guest, which hopefully will be a regular guest. His name is Henny Talks Prem. So, as you can see, he loves the Premier League like myself, and he's a massive Liverpool fan. So, he and I will be doing, like I said, doing this hopefully regularly, where we talk Liverpool, we discuss what's happening with the club, post game, things like that. So it is off season, Henny. And now, do you want me to call you by your Instagram slash TikTok name or your personal name?
You can call me by my Instagram/TikTok name. I think that's better.
All right.
Can you hear me good? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you good. Everything's going well.
Perfect.
Thanks again for joining. So yeah, it is the off season. There have been signings. Before we get into the signings, Liverpool just won their 20th title. What was that like for you? Being a fan, being a Canadian fan like myself, living abroad, experiencing it differently than those back in Liverpool.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Sean, first and foremost. But I think when we won it during the COVID period, I think it was different. There wasn't as many celebrations. I think obviously like the team could enjoy it by themselves behind closed doors, but it didn't really give the chance for Liverpool as a city to get together and enjoy the title, right? And so seeing the scenes after the final whistle on the final day of the season, seeing what it meant to the city, it was honestly just incredible to see. And for me sitting at home, I'm not there, but I can feel the energy, right? I can feel the energy. I could talk about it on my TikTok and connect with people from Liverpool actually. And so that's the best part. That's the best part for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. Experience watching, like I watched it at home, and it brought me to tears because it was emotional. I think I even posted it on my TikTok channel. Like it was just so emotional, seeing that. And like yourself, we watched it during COVID. I don't put an asterisk on that. We still won it fair and square, but it was not the same, right? Because you couldn't see the fans experience it, and that for me was just as much pleasure seeing what the players, when they drop down and enjoy, but seeing fans cry, kids, young people, old people, different ethnicities, just everyone coming together and just appreciating that moment. And for me, that was massive because that, like I said, we're both followers, we're both supporters. We know what it's like from the outside in, seeing the struggles this team has gone on over the past 20 plus years, and to finally get that monkey off their back, right? So it was great to see. We won't dwell too much on that because, again, it's already unfortunately in the past, and everyone's moving forward to
plenty more to come, though. Plenty more to come.
There is, and I'm excited for it, but I'm not going to think too far ahead of trophies. I want to take it one step at a time.
Exactly.
And where we're going to begin is this summer, in the transfer window. So we lost Trent, which we all knew was going to happen.
Yep.
Whether fans, I'm not going to get into how people felt about that. I wasn't necessarily super happy how things ended up playing out, but it is what it is. Like I said, things happen, right? We didn't expect that to happen so rapidly. But, or I shouldn't say so rapidly. The way it played out, I think fans were upset because if you really look back now, Trent knew he was leaving from the start of the season. Right.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think fans would have been happier if he would just was honest and open. Like, look, this is a new opportunity. I want to challenge I think there's always a way you can go about presenting this scenario so that you don't get the same backlash. You say at the beginning of the season, you show your love for this club throughout the season, your hard work and your effort, and then I think people would respect you more. But I think people felt like it was a bit of a stab in the back how it played out. But I think, like I said, all the writing was on the wall, and you kind of knew that was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
With that being said, look who we were able to replace him with, right? Which to me is, solid replacement. I don't think you can go wrong when it comes to somebody, okay, he's not going to give you the same crosses like a Trent. Like Trent's delivery is one of a kind, like a Pirlo type of passes, but his up and down, his pace, his energy, his youthfulness, I think, is going to be something that and I think he might be a little bit better of a defender.
I've heard, rumors and I've seen stats about how his defending is worse than Trent's actually, which is not the best sign. But at the same time, listen, Trent is a generational talent. We all know this. I think we're just going to replace Trent with Frimpong here. It's going to be like for like. It's just so wrong to think because that's impossible. Trent, again, is a generational talent. And so, Frimpong, I think, as right backs go on the market, I think he is one of the best options, I think, or if not the best option right now for us, especially like his profile, fitting kind of directly to what like Liverpool has been playing for the past decade or so. So I think it's going to be a very seamless signing. I hope he can adapt to the Premier League style of play quickly, because we all know how difficult that is for some new signings. But he is a right back, so there's no kind of pressure for goals or pressure for assists. To be honest with you, it's kind of just play your game, and then hopefully he can put in good performances week in, week out at least. So yeah, very excited.
Well, he does have the ability to be an attacking fullback. He does have the pace, and you can, depending on how you want to line him up, you can also have Bradley as a stay-at-home right back and throw Frimpong in as a midfielder, depending on the game, the situation. So he's versatile like that, and I don't think it's dead set that he's going to start week in, week out, right? Because I really like Bradley, and I think at the end of the day, Bradley's defending is a true right back, and you can see that in how he defends and how he plays. Yeah. He does attack, but he's definitely more pure right back than anything else.
Yeah, we saw his performance against Real Madrid and how he locked up Mbappe. So I think nobody's questioning Bradley's defensive capability so much, but I think in today's day and age, the fullback position has evolved so much. You have to do a lot more than just sit back there and defend, and that's why I think Bradley may come up short. But again, great fullback. I love Connor Bradley as a fullback, but when it comes to the other dimensions of the position, I think he might lack that, especially for a Big Six club. When there's so much expected of you. So,
but what I'll say is this: they're both young. They're both early 20s, 21. So they both have so much development to come. Sure. So I think the two of them challenging each other will only make both of them better players in their position. You have the ability to allow both players to grow with the team and improve over the next couple of years. So to me, those are very crucial and important things to happen, right? Absolutely. So I like what they both bring to the table. I like that they're different dynamics. And I think what it allows Slot this season is, depending on who your opponent is, you can set up differently. You have the ability to, if you feel you need to be more of a solid defender in that right back because you're going to be attacked down the wings a lot more, maybe you have a Bradley in. But if you know that you have the ability to kind of flip the script and you're going to have more possession, maybe that's where Frimpong comes in. So we'll see how that plays out. I think there's going to be a lot to we'll see both of them a lot throughout the season with the amount of games we're going to play.
Mm-hmm. For sure, we're going to play a lot of games. Yeah.
Oh, I want to add Wirtz to the stage. Here we go. Florian Wirtz. What's your take?
I think he is a generational talent. And if I may talk about his price tag, because I've been hearing a lot of people bad mouth the price tag, saying it's too expensive. Listen, the top 5 most expensive Premier League transfers of all time. I'll read you some names here. Obviously, Florian Wirtz, and Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, Declan Rice, Grealish. These are great players, don't get me wrong, but these are not game changers. These are not franchise builders. Florian Wirtz is a generational talent. He broke records with Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. And again, he's a generational talent. I think price tags as high as this are meant for generational talents like Florian Wirtz. And so, I see so many people talk about his price tags. Oftentimes it's opposing supporters like Chelsea, whatever, Everton, saying it's too expensive, whatever. But listen, price tags like this are meant for players like this, and there's no two ways about it. I think Florian Wirtz is an amazing talent. There are questions about how he's going to fit into this team, because obviously Liverpool aren't traditionally a team who plays with a number 10. So we'll see how that works out. So I think there's going to be a lot of changing, whether it's because somebody has to go here, right? Like whether it's a striker, whether it's Soboslai, somebody's got to go. Because obviously we can't have a talent like this sitting on the bench. So player wise, great. How he's going to fit in the team, I'm not too sure yet, but he will fit. We'll make it fit because he's a talent.
Can you see him playing in a false 9 role where you still have Soboslai on the pitch?
this is where it gets a bit tricky because I think
because I've heard that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great idea, 1,000,000%. But I think where he will fall a bit in the false nine role is these Premier League center backs. I don't think he can play on the shoulder of a Premier League center back at his size, at his height, his weight. Again, great player technically, but I think that false nine role in a league as physical as a Premier League is might be a bit difficult for him.
And that's the only worry I have is that he is coming to probably the most physical league, well, outside of maybe the championship. But the Premier League, you're getting beasts of center backs. You're not getting just, a little frail, up and coming young. Like, you'll see the odd one depending on the team, but for the most part, you're going to get, that's where the spine of teams are built. And you're going to be going up against some real workhorses throughout the year, especially the top 10 teams in the league, like not even the top 6, at least the top 10 is, the Premier League is always considered the most competitive league out there because week in, week out, every team is coming to bring something to the table. Right. Yeah. So I agree with that. I'm still not sure how they're going to play him to get the best. It will be interesting. I like Szoboszlai. I did feel last year he did take a bit of a step back. There were games where I just think there was something missing from his game. But then there were games where he was the true workhorse in that midfield for 90 plus minutes, where you saw at the end when he was gassed, but he gave 110%. So I like everything about the word signing. I think now price tags have just gotten ridiculous in football. It's like not even sensible, but it is what it is. It's part of the game. And every now and then, in order to be, to make an impact in the game, you're going to have to be willing to make that kind of signing, right? Because he's young. He is, you're looking at somebody who will be, a big part of your midfield for the next 2 to 3 years minimum, right? And if he continues to develop and grow, you will recoup a good percentage of that signing fee, right? So, or transfer fee. So I'm not going to dwell too much on that. I think a lot of it boils down to haters are going to hate because Liverpool is just going out of their way to show that we want to compete next season, and not just compete, but like we're defending title winners. So we want to make sure that we're there come the final whistle at the end of May. Absolutely. Anything else you want to touch on Wirtz before we move on to our next signing?
I think it's really good to see that Liverpool are not just settling with that league. But I think it's so easy to have a decent team and settle and not put the foot on the throat of the opposition. I think if you look at Arsenal last year, they had a great team, but they did not make the signings. They did not address the issues that needed to be addressed coming that next season. They needed a player to reduce Saka's minutes. They needed a midfielder. They needed so many things that they didn't address. And guess what? This season, it ended up biting them. And so it's really good to see Liverpool being aggressive in the transfer window and making sure that no stone gets left unturned. So
yeah, and that's like for me, I like the quick and early start to the transfers, right? Getting ahead of the game. Getting key components signed early only gives you a bit of an advantage going into preseason, right? Preseason starts July 7th, so you have 3 key components that can start preseason training with everyone and start to build cohesiveness early versus late in the summer. So I'm big on that, and we'll touch on a little bit more of more potential comings and goings because we have lost a few and we will continue to lose a few, but. This past Friday, we got our most recent player, and that's Milos Kerkez. Came from Bournemouth. This, again, has been talked about for at least a month. We've just been waiting for everything to get finalized. Now, we have 3 left backs, so we'll have to touch on that factor a bit. But, I like what he brings to the game. He's young. He, is fit. Because I think he played every game for the Cherries this year. So he's, that's going to be important, having somebody that you can rely on. Knock on wood. I like this one. I think, again, you can't go wrong with what the club's doing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not. I think similar to the Frimpong transfer, I think he fits Liverpool's historic play style so well. That attacking fullback. And honestly, to be honest, I think Robertson might leave at the end of this summer, because I think seeing Kirkaz comes in and his contract's up next season too. I think he kind of knows he's on his way out, and so I think he might go with Atleti. But Kirkaz's play style, I think it's going to be a seamless fit, and he's already Prem proven too. I'm playing all those games for Bournemouth in the league already, so I have genuinely nothing bad to say about the signing. I think it's going to be a seamless signing.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I know there were people, I think, more throwing other names out there earlier, during the season, of potential replacements. I think fans kind of could see the writing on the wall throughout the season that was one area that, I mean, we still won the title and everything, but you could just see games where you worried about our left back position, whether it was Robertson, whether it was Simicus. They were just not as consistent as they have been in the past. And you throw in the age with Robertson. I wish it wasn't I kind of wish he was going to be the backup, but I get why you kind of might he still has some value out there. And whether it be Atleti, whether it be another team in the Prem, one of the teams that are getting promoted, I could still see something happening. Because they will have to make a move, right? Between him and Simicus, they're not going to be happy with the limited playing time that they're going to be getting if you're keeping all three.
Yeah, definitely. I think Robertson's great. He's been great for us over the time he's been here. But this past season, I think when Robertson was playing well, he was playing really well. He's having a great game. But when he was playing bad, he was playing really bad. And I think in the games where he's playing really bad, unfortunately, it kind of overshadows the games where he played well. And so again, in a situation where his contract's up next season, we're bringing in a new left back that seems like it's going to be our number one left back. I don't think there's probably no more room for Andy Robertson in this club, unfortunately, because he's been so great to us. So but it's how it has to be. It is what it is.
There's been rumors between Nunez and Diaz potentially leaving, even Gakpo, which I don't believe that those as much. But I do feel the Nunez rumors are there's a lot of meat to the on the bones of that one there. What do you feel?
So I think it's not a secret that Nunez hasn't reached his full potential in Liverpool. Sure, I think that's kind of standard. We all know this. But at the same time, he is my favorite players, and it's gonna be hard to see him leave, because regardless of the performances, he will always be putting his 100% effort into the game, no matter what. He plays for the badge. But I do think he wants more out of his career. I think Liverpool aren't satisfied with what he's given us so far. And again, it's kind of like a Robertson situation. It just is what it is. You in a situation where you're dealing with players, you can't be emotional. I think do I see Nunez becoming this absolute star of a player in the next few years? Unfortunately, I don't. So why not just get him off your pay books as soon as you possibly can, and put that money into something else, like a potential Isak next year or something like that, because we can still get a pretty penny for him, especially if he's going to Saudi. We can get a pretty good penny for him. So I think just getting Nunez gone as soon as possible and putting that money to something else is probably for the best interest for us.
I agree with you with the heart and what he brings to the table in the sense of energy. He's going to give you it all for the full 90 or whenever he's on the pitch. But the goal contributions are what has hurt his stock. He was brought in to score goals, and he just hasn't been able to, be the goal scorer that we need. Because at the end of the day, we need somebody that can relieve the pressure off of Mo Salah, but consistently, right? I still think if we can get a healthy Diogo Jota, he can be a big asset, but I think he's better to be off the bench than you can't rely on him as a starter. Again, similar, Diaz, is he better on the wing than playing in that 9 position? I think so, but the problem is it all depends on who's he's playing with. So I sometimes think we don't get the best out of him. But I think with Nunez, it is time to get what you can financially from him and use that towards. You will have to get a replacement in, so put your money spend it wisely. I like Isak. I just don't know if that the money that we'd have to pay for him. I just don't think is worth it when you look at also the injuries he's also had in his career. I just have a lot of concerns there, and I still think there are other strikers out there that we should be looking at before we go all in on spending that kind of money.
Yeah, I think if you look at Arsenal, for example, how they've been searching for a striker far and wide, and they just haven't really landed that striker. I think they're going to land Benjamin Sesko this summer, but I think in this world of strikers, the striker market is just so poor. It's really poor. We've seen examples of Rasmus Højlund, for example. Like United took a big chance on him from Atalanta, and that chance didn't end up working out. So I think it's really difficult because we're in a hard spot where we have a good attack, but we don't have besides Mo Salah, of course, we don't have a bona fide goal scorer, a bona fide goal threat, which is a big issue. I'm sorry, Diogo Jota is not going to cut it week in, week out. Luis Diaz in the 9 is not going to cut it, unfortunately. So we need somebody else, especially as Mo Salah starts to slow down a bit. Like he's getting up there in age, and we almost didn't give him a contract because of that, right? So I think we need a striker badly. I don't know who it's going to be. We have to take a chance on somebody because, we can't have us relying on Mo Salah.
So I'm going to throw a name out there that I like, and I'm selfish because I'm Canadian. So why? So you already know who I'm going to throw out there, right? Yeah. But why not? Why would they not look at Jonathan David when he's free? So from a cost factor, you're saving a lot of money. Yeah. He is a prolific goal scorer, wherever he goes, club and country. This is not somebody that has ups and downs. Like he can score goals. He can score goals in the Champions League. He's got that experience. He's not like it wouldn't necessarily be that far off of somebody over the past 3 or 4 years who's been, on a consistent basis hitting double digits in goals.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're not going to find a lot of players out there that is available. And a lot of them are more like, again, if we were to go look at the goals between Isak and Jonathan David, who's probably got a better goal scoring record over the past 4 years?
Yeah, for sure.
Healthy as well. Right. Yeah. Knock on wood. So I just think before we spend that kind of money, like I said, you can save a lot of money and put it in other positions. Like, we know we need another center back because all indications is Konate is not going to re-sign. I think he deserves a raise. I don't disagree with it. But at the same time, if we can get Mark Gahey, go for it.
1,000,000% take it. Yeah.
Right. Because I don't want them to go through the same scenario that they went through this past season with, going through the whole season with players, coming to the end of their contract and fans don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Don't let that happen again. So if Konate is showing any signs that he's not going to re-sign, ship him out.
Yeah.
Recoup what you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But be prepared ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. I think, so I'll say 2 things to start with Jonathan David. I think, I love Jonathan David. He's a technical striker. He can score goals. We all know this. It's just a matter of the physicality. I don't think Jonathan David is the most physical striker. And do I think his player profile can really fit in the Premier League? I don't know. That's not me taking away from him as a player. He's a great player. We all know he's a great player, and his numbers show that. It's just a matter of how he's going to adapt to the Premier League. I think I can kind of relate his play style to Diogo Jota, to be honest with you. Not overly physical, just likes to get his goal. He's a demon in front of the net, just like Jota. But that would be an interesting signing. I think either way, Jonathan David or not, there needs to be a risk taken on somebody. We have to get somebody in before it's too late. And so that's what I have to say on that. When talking about Konate, I think I don't know. I think Konate will. I think he will resign. I don't see why he wouldn't.
Real. If Real's knocking on your door, that's a big reason why.
They just signed Højlund, and I don't see Konate leaving, to be honest. And if he does, that's a huge issue for us because he's our guy. I think him and Virgil back there are probably this best center back duo in the world right now. And I said it with my chest. So if he doesn't resign, then that's a big issue. I think he will, though. I think the offloading of Jarrell Kwanzaa, I think, was good for us because we got a pretty penny for him as well. And I don't think he would have had a future as a number one center back for Liverpool, to be honest. I'm not sure about what you think, but I don't think either. But what are you going to say?
I really like Kwanzaa. I think, put this way, the reason why I do think he still has a future at Liverpool is the fact that they put the buyback clause.
Yeah.
So they believe in that young man. I just think they realize he's not ready to be a consistent starter right now, and he needs that playing time. And there's no point. You can loan him out all you want, make some money right now, let him go play, in your European competition week in, week out, develop his game, and then if they see what they believe the potential's there, they have the ability to bring him back. So I actually think this is a smart move. I like what he brings, and I think how they went about it makes more sense than having him around where he's not going to get a lot of playing time.
Yeah,
that's going to weigh in his head mentally, and I think that would hurt the development of his game.
I think you made a really good point there. Maybe I was too harsh on him because, again, he is very young, and you don't often see young center backs getting a lot of playing time. But last season, we saw him a lot, whether it was in the fullback position or the center back position. I think we did see him a lot last season. Were his performances up to par? No, they weren't. Sometimes they were. But I don't think at his age right now, he is at the level to be a Liverpool center back. So I think what you said about the buyback clause to Leverkusen, I think that is the best idea. Because if he's playing well, bring him back. But if he's not, you can stay there, and you got a pretty penny for him as well. So, I think that is very good business from Liverpool there, for sure.
For sure. So that is kind of it. We'll end the show on there today. Folks, this is, again, a new channel, a new pod. Give us a like. Make sure you subscribe. Leave us some feedback. Let us know what you think about the show, what you want us to talk about. Preseason starts July 7th, so I'm sure we'll see more signings, or hopefully between now and then. If that Mark Gahey comes between now and then, that'll be a big thing. But you and I will jump back on at some point to discuss more incomings and outgoings as they come. Henny, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, Sean. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Again, folks, thanks for joining us. Smash that like button, subscribe. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.